You are the founder and CEO of GroApp. Tell us a bit about that and tell us a bit about yourself.
The GroWellness company started about 18 months ago. It is my sort of, it was a pet project for a long time, but I'm finally taking it seriously. I'm bootstrapping it, and I'm putting a great deal of investment into it. But the great sort of goal behind it is that I want to take basic health information to anybody who benefit from it. I want to make basic health accessible. So admittedly, originally, that was sort of my goal and my dream for this. And as I've gone through it and as I've navigated it a little, I realized that you have to sort of you have to create an emotional connection with your purpose and your goal. That can't be my real why, And so I thought about it a little more, and I realized it's quite devoid of emotional connection. And I thought about, just who am I building this for? And it occurred to me that what the GroApp and the GroWellness company is that I want to build a platform that my parents could have used, that could have made their life easier. A lot of people in my family who've struggled with their mental health and had tons of medical aid bills and, couldn't travel and do all those wonderful things. And so, I could have helped them. I would have given anything to help them have, the better life that I sort of have. And that's now actually my why. So when you get those really tough moments in the entrepreneurship journey, that's what I lean on. I am building this for the people that I love. And that's sort of what gets me through it.
Oh, that is amazing. That is amazing to hear. I'm hearing you say, here's an idea that comes along. You're like, yeah, this feels like something I can do. This feels like something I can dedicate time with. And there was a point in these 18 months where you had to really dig deep as to what is the reason? Why am I here doing what I'm doing? Because the part of it that is the dream, is the idea of it. It comes and it goes, and it's there flimsily. But us zoning into why, connecting emotionally with the actual thought and the actual idea brings about the energy and the strength for you to keep going from day to day. That's what I'm hearing you say. And I resonate with that so much, because even me with the company that I have, which is basically my first sort of company that I've ever done for myself, and a step outside the comfort zone. When you step outside that comfort zone, there's things that you have to deal with within yourself that are going to have you questioning, why the hell am I even doing this? Like coming onto this live and putting myself out there and saying, hello, well, this is no simple. I'm not sure. What am I doing? But here I am. So I get that. And it resonates with me quite a lot. And the fact that you're saying the older generation of our parents, they had no structure like this. They have no access to resources. And now coming from also a South African perspective, you're in a third world country. You are dealing with the issues of struggle of just trying to get through the day-to-day of poverty, getting a job, getting a salary that's going to maintain a sort of an okay lifestyle for you and the family that you have for yourself. It's quite challenging for us to not have the basic care resources of just not even having to be sick, to prevent actual sickness from happening, as a foundation of our lives. Because we're so used to having the thing of, I'm going to go to the doctor when I'm feeling sick, when this happens. So to have those tools beforehand, and I found it so transformational for somebody in South Africa to say, listen, there's nothing like this in my country right now, and I know we need it, and it's not just me, but all of us need it. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to pave the way for future people, whoever it is, to come onto this platform and get value and get the help that they need for themselves so that they can be a better person tomorrow. So now tell me a little bit, I know I've been long-winded there, but can you tell me, why do you believe in strong habits? Why is it so pivotal for us to have strong habits and continuous self-development as key essential for living a life of purpose? Why is that something that you say, this is my thing? This is what I will stand for. If anything else outside my career on my 8 to 5 or the main thing that I do, this is it.
I really love that you managed to tap into what is effectively my niche. How to form healthy habits to enable better wellness. I think there are a lot of companies out there publishing really great information about wellness, like really good quality information that can help people. But without understanding how to form a habit around the information you're taking in, it's just a piece of information, and you'll see the value of it in the moment, and then you'll move along. And you won't necessarily, it doesn't become repeatable in your life. And so for me, forming healthy habits around wellness is so key, because it allows you to make it repeatable. And when it becomes part of your daily routine, that's when you start seeing the real benefit. I think people don't always realize that some sort of wellness initiative that you're doing is not a once-off. Going to a therapist is not a couple of sessions. It's not 6 sessions. It's not 12 sessions. It could be 3 years of your life. that is, unusually lengthy. You should have been helped to a certain degree at that point, but you have no idea, the length or the longevity of any kind of wellness initiative that you're going to take on. So for me, it's the practicality behind wellness.
Yes.
But forming habits just lets you embed it into your daily life so that you no longer have to think about it. And what's so important, you did say a couple of things, but what's so important for me is that people have this idea of wellness. They think that it's, living this baller life. It's, wanting self-development and self-improvement is about living this jet-setting life with the 10-bedroom mansion and the sports car, and that's what you're working towards. And that's not necessarily it. For me, wellness is just removing basic daily little frictions from your life so that you can just, live a simple life. And I'll share that for me, why it's so important is that I didn't always grow up with a great deal of stability in my life. My childhood wasn't always very stable. And so the great goal for me is not this, amazing baller life. It's just living a simple, frictionless life, just general happiness. That's what it is for me.
We are talking to Nadia here, and she's telling us a little bit about the background and the forethought behind her starting her GroWellness company, which is a big, audacious dream that she's had for the past 18 months. And we've been speaking about why foundationally habits play such a big role in the level of quality of life that you have day to day, and not even in that ideal sort of state of one day I am going to be this, I'm going to be that. But for me, I've seen a transformational shift in myself, Nadia. I'm not sure if you would resonate. When I started zoning in and formulating the real things that I do on a day-to-day basis, looking at those, seeing the challenges that I had with my habits, and the ones that were not taking me towards the life that I want to live, and then cultivating the ones that I wanted to add on as part of my identity as the person that I want to become tomorrow. I saw a big shift in my level of peace, in my level of just alignment with myself, just my internal talk. All of those had to be intentionally cultivated by zoning in on the day-to-day basis of who the hell am I? Who am I on a day-to-day basis? How do I present myself to myself? And how am I being in my everyday that's going to shift me long-term? So foundationally, we're not taught this. We are not taught that, listen, running after the big cars, running after the big career, you still have to come back at the end of it all and see to the first order of reference here, which is yourself and what's going on within and how you are being from moment to moment. So I really do resonate with that, and it does spark up something so much inside of me. My soul, write my song says, so you change your mindset to change your identity, you have. It is a change of mindset, and it is also correlated with a change in identity. You identify who you are wanting to be and look at your life currently. Who am I being now that is not in line with the person that I see myself becoming? Yeah. So I think we've shifted a little bit to Nadia there from the basic thing that we talked about. So I'm going to read it back in Grow App and Grow Foundation. Yeah. Tell us a bit more about that. How is it segmented? What is it about? Fundamentally, you said habits, you said development, but in the context of South Africa, what is it going to be about going forward once you've launched?
Yeah, thanks. So let me sort of start with where it came from. So in terms of my own sort of personal development and wellness journey, about 4 or 5 years ago or so now, I kind of went through a couple of tough life situations, as a lot of us do. It's a very common thing, especially among South Africans. And suffice to say, I went to psychologists. Eventually, I had to also go to all sort of specialist doctors, gastroenterologists, endocrinologists, nutritionists, all that sort of thing. It was an extremely expensive and time-consuming exercise. And by the end of it, I thought to myself, I'm sort of, I can comfortably say I'm probably in the top percent of people, 10% of people in South Africa, and it was an extremely expensive exercise for me. I have access to fairly decent medical aid, and my medical aid was not enough to cover it. I had to pay a lot out of pocket, and I thought, how does the average person navigate this? How do you get the kind of sort of help that you need to get through those tough situations? And so that's where the idea was really born from. It was just to make that sort of basic help accessible. The app itself, in terms of features, provides wellness programs where people can learn just basic health information. You kept referring to it as an audacious goal, and it is, because, and it gives me, I have tons of vulnerabilities around it because it's a lot to cover, and I'm partnering with experts. I'm by no means a medical, expert or professional. And so I've had to partner with people who are experts in their respective fields. And that in and of itself was quite a difficult sort of thing to navigate. It was a world that I didn't understand whatsoever. But it very quickly, as we spoke to earlier, very quickly became apparent to me that I can provide people with information, but without the habit forming piece of it. And we worked with a sort of expert around habit forming to form or to build habit forming tools on the app. So it's sort of two pieces to it. It's learn how to make yourself better, and then learn how to embed those habits into your daily life. That's effectively the features of the app. And then sort of to my heart's desire, and for really the base reason for why I wanted to do this to begin with. I grew up in a large township in Durban. I grew up in Phoenix. I grew up around a lot of people. I saw a lot of drug abuse. I saw a lot of gang violence, growing up. And I know in my heart of hearts that those are people who just didn't have access to the basic tools that you need to just manage your interpersonal skill, manage conflict, those sort of basic tools in life. And so that's where the Grow Foundation came from. So I want to take that wellness information and just make it accessible to people free. And so we're doing that over WhatsApp. It's sort of a WhatsApp bot. And I hope that we can go live on the 1st of March if all goes to plan. The Grow bot will go live, and then that wellness information will be made available to anybody.
That is exceptional. I am like, all this from an idea that you thought would help somebody else. You went through the challenge. Yeah. You got yourself to a space where you're now feeling as if you're in more imbalance, and now you move from being in balance by yourself and see how this can now shift someone else's life. And that's what I've picked up as the theme for birthing a dream. It has to be a dream that is, firstly, like you said, linked to you emotionally. You have to have an emotional attachment to seeing it through, so that you can do the day-to-day building of that idea, even when it doesn't make sense, even when the money is not there, putting in the hours. The second part of it, it has to serve. It has to be serving to the next person on the biggest scale that you can even imagine. So it's blowing up this one thing that you've gone through and blowing up it to an extent where you're magnifying it to see the potentiality of it linking to other people except yourself, and you getting some sort of money from it. And what I'm picking up is that it's not the money that is the end goal here. It's the service. It's the serving. And from the serving, whatever comes back is going to be just a reflection of what it is that you put in as wanting to serve society. And that's the key, the most important key, that we sometimes fall into the trap of thinking, okay, I'm going to do my side hustle. I'm going to now see what I can do to bring in extra money. And when it is that sort of thinking, then it is not wrong. It's not wrong. Don't get me wrong to say side hustle is not the mentality to have, but it needs to be deeper. It needs to align with you at a core value level, while you're busy also seeing how you can serve other people while you're doing that. So thank you for highlighting that point. It is such a pivotal point in actually understanding as to what sort of dream has the potentiality to make it into the world and see itself to fruition, because it's not just galvanized by my own needs, but what I'm seeing as a need for society.
Yeah.
Yes, Nadia?
No, I just wanted to add, I think Oprah actually articulates it quite well. She says, anything that you do in life should be of service to your fellow man. And if that is not at the heart and the root of why you do things, you're never going to be successful at it, because you're doing it for frivolous reasons. And people can see right through that. If you're not there, if you're not showing up at the heart of it to help people, you're just not going to reach the level of success that you're looking for.
Okay, so let me just step back a bit and ask you a question from a third person perspective. Yeah. Okay, here's somebody that's listening to us. They're listening and hearing, okay, this is the sort of skeletal look as to how to bring your audacious dream into reality and to take the necessary step and to step outside the comfort zone. And they're saying, okay, Nadia, Nosipo, I hear you, but you don't understand. This dream of mine is just like, it scares me. It scares me. I have nobody in my family's done this. I don't have support. I need funding. I don't have funding. And then those are my things that are my hurdles. And I need to figure these things first before I start taking action. What would be your firstly, your biggest advice to that person? And secondly, like, what sort of simple steps can you mention right now that anybody that's is thinking on that scale of making impact can start doing right now to shift towards that direction?
So there's a couple of things there, right? It's such a great question. Firstly, for 100%, it is a mind game. If you're scared, if you feel like I'm fearful, I don't think I can do this, you're on the right track.
Yay! I know that for a fact.
Yeah, if you're pushing yourself past, what feels comfortable, it means that you're in that space where you can achieve. It should scare you. When you're doing something new, when you're doing something that hasn't been necessarily done before, or just putting yourself out there and putting your creative ability out there, it's going to scare you. 100%, it is a mind game, and that's when you keep going. When you feel like, I don't know how to handle myself in this boardroom, or I'm not sure if people appreciate what I'm putting out there, that's when you know that you're on the right track, because it should be scary to you, first off. So that's when you know you're doing it right. Second thing is that, when it comes to entrepreneurship in South Africa, what's incredible is that South Africans actually have more access to funding options than we ever have had before. There's government agencies, Department of Trade and Industry, etc., who have tons of programs now. There are major corporates who have to, they have corporate responsibility programs where they have to support small business. They have venture capital firms who are now, and even at an international level, who are really coming into South Africa. Even major multinationals are coming to South Africa, and they do like these pitching days. So I don't think, even through traditional mechanisms, you can go to a bank, and even beyond bank loans, the banks are really starting to hop onto the idea of providing venture capital funding to small businesses. So I think we actually aren't short of options for funding. I think there are two things that people don't necessarily get right, when they're pitching or when they're trying to apply for some sort of funding. One, you have to have identified a problem that is actually worth solving. And that's quite key, because as much as the option is there, no company is going to invest in you when they don't actually see that there's a problem that's worth solving here. So my advice is, go out and go validate your ideas, speak to people, make sure that when you're standing and pitching for that funding, you can show that you are obsessed with this problem to the point that you know all you need to know about this domain. So go speak to people, go to events, do your research, start an Instagram account and just start putting your information out there and see how people respond. And if it deters you, as you and me, we can really, I think we relate to this, that you're not getting the engagement levels that you might want. Understand that is exactly what a business environment is like. You're going to have to cut through all of this noise of people who have similar ideas and are also putting out good information, and you can't let it deter you. So it's a really great sort of free way of validating that you actually have identified a real problem and that people want you to solve it for them. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that I think you have to be able to show that you have the level of competence to solve that problem. And it might mean skill set, and you might need to do some personal development there. It might just mean being able to show that you are passionate about the idea enough and you understand enough about the idea that you'll be competent and capable and committed to following through. So there's so much support out there right now for small business owners as well. You've never done a financial statement, you have no idea how to register a company. There's just so much of the information out there. So it's earlier you're talking about the hustle culture, and that's a good thing about just South African culture in general. We are that hustle culture where we are entrepreneurial by nature, in the most traditional sense, even that boer-maker plan kind of mentality. That's exactly what it is. Yes. That's exactly what it is. The support is out there. We have the right attitude. Sort of just believing in ourselves enough, and sort of what I spoke to earlier.
Yeah, I'm glad that it all goes back to this one thing, and you keep mentioning any sort of venture outside the comfort zone, any sort of stepping outside the lines that you've been coloring is going to bring within you friction, because you've never ventured out in that area before. There's things that you've believed about yourself, that you've held as true about yourself in mindset and in emotions, that need to now be questioned. That now this new sort of trajectory that you're going on this starting a business venture and making a dream come true is going to meet friction of the old ideas that you've been holding on to. And the new sort of frame that you want to take versus the old you are going to have some sort of dissonance happening and some sort of just friction. And in between that's where I think people just lose hope and just say, this is not for me. Meanwhile, it's the old way that you've been and the new way that you're trying to identify yourself as, that's now trying to fight the old part of yourselves, or trying to work with what it can work with to the best of its ability, while getting you up to the next version of who you need to be in order to be this person that is bringing this vision into reality, and doing the actions that you need to be doing in order to come the way that you have envisioned it in mind. So it goes back to self-knowing and actually maneuvering yourself in such a way that you see the uncomfortability within yourself. You see the old sort of ways of being, and you still have the guts to go in there and clean out that gunk so that you show up better for that vision. And it goes back into saying that what is your why? How is it connecting to you in an emotional manner? Which when these things start raising up in you, how are you going to react? I got one like on Instagram, and then you start questioning yourself. Like, am I even? Is this thing even something that I should be doing? Why are people not vibing? And you're like, no, it's not even about that. It's about you coming in terms with yourself. That you're calling yourself into a higher order of being, and then a higher order of being yourself, which is going to take more than just wanting validation from people. Are you going to be there for this dream even when people are like, not now, we don't know what you're talking about, maybe later? Are you going to still be there? That's the question that gets asked over and over again.
And I like the way you articulate that. It's the constant questioning of self, but just grounding yourself in what you know, who you are and what you're trying to achieve, and just going back to that why. And it's actually hilarious when you say, you question yourself at every step, especially Instagram is a different piece. There could be 100 people who got some value and followed you, but you get that one unfollow and you're just like,
yes.
It's actually amazing. I always go back to this core principle that, one, I understand my why. Two, even if it scares me, even if I feel that resistance, even if I know I might stumble and fall, I do it anyway. Because I have no choice. Because I've committed to it. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, and sometimes that's what it asks for. That's all the willingness to say, I'm not going to give myself any options. Here I am now with both feet in. I'm sinking or swimming, but I do not give myself any other options to worm myself out of this thing that I've committed myself into. And that's when the real test begins of, are you that committed? That's a different level of commitment right there. A level where you're like, screw the lifeboat, screw like any safety mechanism, jumping in and swimming the best way you can, even if you've never even swum a day in your life. So I really resonate with that.
It is a mind game.
What is the most unexpected thing that working on this dream for you has made you realize, which you didn't expect?
How much I actually believe in my ability. I think I have always... I can go into all the reasons behind it. I think there's tons of sort of reasons behind it, but self-belief has always been something that, that I've had to navigate around in life. And the more I do it, and, when I get onto Instagram Lives with somebody else for the first time and I don't know what the questions are, and I have to think on my feet, whatever it is, I walk away from it and I think, damn, if only I had the self-belief 10 years ago, if only I put myself out there like this 5 years ago. I could have brought so much more to people if I just leaned on myself a little more. That's been probably the most surprising thing for me. And I always tell myself this, that even if I fall flat on my face, my 15 minutes will be over in a few and nobody will remember it. And
you will be the one asking the question, why were you there playing comfortable and playing small when you could have explored that talent and that potential to the best that you can with what you have and done it to the best of your ability. And there's this funny way about life. When you start living in the uncomfortable and living in the zone of just like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing it. Life just comes to support you. It brings in people that vibrate on your sort of level of frequency. It brings in the necessary help that you need, and there's synchronicities that you wouldn't even understand had you not taken the steps that you take. Fine, you waddle along the way, you make your errors, but there's some sort of auto-correcting thing that comes in at play that is divinely above you and just comes in and shadows you through your journey, so that but when you look back at the steps that you've had to take and you're like, no way did I just do the things that I've done without me even knowing where it would go, but going on this intuitive feel of this is what I'm meant to do. Doing this is me feeling as if I am doing what's mine to do in the world. And there's no better feeling in the world that beats that feeling. And I think part of why we are here alive is to hone into the things that make us feel as if I am doing something that resonates deeply with me. And I have no question, if I were to die today, I lived the life that I thought best to live, and I impacted the world the way that I thought was my way to impact. Not in a big and massive scale where now I'm on Oprah and I'm giving people cars. I did my best and I gave back the best way I can, and I left my mark the best way I knew how. And that's what we're always being called for, not over and above what we can do, but the very best of us at that given point in time, at that moment, with the level of understanding that you have and the level of knowledge that you have. So that is me resonating with you fully on that point.
So well articulated, because when you are operating at a place where you are your most authentic self, you're going to draw those energies towards you that want to support you and drive you forward. You're going to naturally attract that to you. It's such a good point.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what most of us find surprisingly. I have found that really surprising myself. And I'm looking at inside myself and thinking 5 years ago, when I see myself now and see 5 years ago, timid Nosipho, who was a yes ma'am and a people pleaser, and I'm seeing this person and I'm like, yay, I have come from far and I'm still going far. And if I now hone in and go deeply within what I'm being called to do, 10 years from now, I will be smashing things that I never thought I would be even smashing, but I had to listen. I had to take the initiative and step out and do what I'm called to do. So on closing, what is it that you would advise somebody who is starting out and saying, okay, I'm going to go full in? What would be the most important, crucial point for you to give them in terms of prep? What would be the one thing that you go back and say, listen, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be fun most times. It's going to be a road full of things that you need to get clear on, which you may not get the answers now. But if you do this one thing, then you are setting yourself up for success.
It is going to be the most simple, obvious piece of advice. My advice is just start. You know, there are no prizes for good ideas. There's nothing that is returned for you for saying, just putting it out into the universe, I want to do a good thing. You know?
Yeah.
Just start. Yeah. Just take the steps. Just figure out what that idea is. Figure out how you want to help people. Figure out what your funding options are, whatever it is. But just start. Don't overthink it. Make a promise to yourself. Commit that you're going to follow through. There's so many people I've spoken to in the last 18 months who said, you know, along the lines of, you know, people say they're going to do things, but you're actually doing it. And they sound amazed. Don't be amazed. You know, it is what is possible. Say you're going to do it. Start and follow through. There's no rocket science behind it. It's not, you know, some sort of otherworldly piece of advice. It's the most
or
obvious.
Some people have it and some don't, because that's what the fallacy that we normally fall into the trap of thinking, they seem like they've had a good life. Everything's been set up foundationally for them to win in life, so it's expected for them. And for the longest time, myself included, I have had that sort of thinking of, some people have it, some don't, and some people will make it and some won't. But it is all up to here and the mind of, okay, fine, we are not equal. There is some sort of thing going on earth where some people are better off than others. But we are all inside of us have that potential to just
100%.
do great work
for ourselves in
any shape that comes in.
Sorry to cut you off. Yeah, and I've seen it in my own life. I've seen
that's fine.
Tons of people who are, you know, more qualified than myself, smarter than me, and probably more confident than me, have better skill set than I do, have better ideas, you know, can articulate themselves better. I see it constantly, the difference between people who are successful. Real purpose is that the difference between those people is that there are people who persist and continue no matter what. No matter what the pitfalls, they just persist and they continue, and there are people who give up. That is the distinction. It's not about talent, it's not about, it's a mind game for sure, but it is not any more than just people who persist.
That is so true. And I'm just going to really end it there, because we can go into many different ways with this. And I've had such a beautiful time sharing with you all that we've been sharing. And it's that calling within ourselves to exceed ourselves that is always at hand for us to each day ask ourselves, are we going to take it or not? And it is in the actions that show whether you take it up or you don't. You just leave it on for the next time, which never ever comes. Or you take it up, you say, I don't know what's going on, but I am willing to figure it out. That's the willingness that it takes, and that level of this thing being on a sort of level of, does this feel like something that resonates deeply with me? So those are the two takeaways that I'm taking away from our discussion of start. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you're coming from. Doesn't matter where your level of education is at, but you start. Wherever you are, the universe, God will meet you, and you will transcend whatever limitation you might have within yourself, as self-doubt, as imposter. I've been there and I'm still swimming through it. It always seems to get easier once you get started, but you need to start. And also, we didn't mention this point, which is a big pivotal. Who are you surrounding yourself with in terms of your dream and casting out your dream? Who is influencing you? Who is saying stuff to you about it? Because those people you have to be mindful of. Not like you have to now be secretive and not share your things, but have around you an environment and people that are supportive to what you're doing. and see you as the see your potential as becoming the person that owns that dream to fruition. Because when you have naysayers around you, when you have content that you're busy consuming that is not in line with where you're wanting to go, nothing can come from that except disheartening sort of mind frames, sort of this, feeling disappointed, or this sort of looking within yourself and doubting your own abilities will only come from hanging around those people. So environment also plays a huge role in making your dreams come true and birthing them to their fullest potential. So I hope everybody who has been on this live has gotten some value. Nadia, where can people find you on Instagram?
It is
Please share with us.
Nadia on Wellness, on every major platform, in fact. YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram mainly. That's my main platform. It's Nadia on Wellness. Oh, and the Grow Wellness Company is growwellnesscompany.com.
Yes. Grow Wellness for your foundational habit needs, and your self-development courses, short courses that will have you understanding yourself at a deeper level and also forming the habits that you want to form. So that is an app to look forward to. In March, it's launching. Yeah, and we shall hear from you a little bit later on in the year to see how you've been doing and to catch up. I would actually love a catch-up call to see.
Definitely.
9 months later, what's birthed, what has birthed, what seems to have gone well, and what has been the challenges that we're still ironing out, because challenges come and we iron them out. They are not hurdles. They are not stumbling blocks where they keep us from our dreams, but they are things that we need to rise up and meet as challenges and move forward and know that they are calling us to be a next better version of ourselves.
Yeah, 100%. And even if there are stumbles, I'd love to share it with people so they can learn from it and grow from it. 100%. Thank you so much for letting me share so generously.
Thank you. Have a